Welcome to Get Organized at Work. I'm your host, Kayla Fahey-Ahrndt, healthcare leader, mom of three, and your go-to guide for ditching the chaos and taking control of your workday. This is the show where we turn overwhelming to-do lists into clear, actionable plans so you can crush your goals and show up as your best self at work and in your life. Whether you're here for strategies to stay ahead or systems to simplify your workday, you're in the right place. Let's get organized, have some fun, and make this year your best year in your career yet. Let's dive in. Hello. Welcome back to Get Organized at Work podcast. I'm Kayla and I'm your host, and we have officially made it to week 4 of our May consistency challenge, which has been pretty cool. So today we're going to be talking about reflecting and celebrating and how small check-ins can help you be consistent at work. And whether you followed every week to a T or you just turned in now, you're here. And to me, that's worth celebrating. So let's do this. Before we get started, I did want to mention that this episode is dropping on Memorial Day. So if you're celebrating Memorial Day, I'm thinking about you and your loved ones and anybody who has served and or who is serving. And I always think about my father-in-law who passed away 2 years ago from cancer. He was a veteran, and his memorial service happened to be on the Memorial Day weekend a couple of years ago. And he's always on my heart and thinking about him often. And I don't know, we're up here at the cabin this weekend, and that's where he always loved to be. So his spirit is here, and it's just something special. And I just thought I would mention it. And it has everything to do with reflection because, you just think about life and how it's really precious and we've got to live it and we've got to be intentional with our lives and enjoy our lives. And that's one of the reasons that I do this podcast, that we don't have a lot of time on the earth. So we might as well make it fun, be organized, get what we need to get done and enjoy our life, whether that's work, our career, our family, all the way around. So anyways, that was the little intro. This week's theme is reflection, like I said, and we're diving into how a simple daily action or of checking in can help you stay consistent, even when life gets messy, even when shiz hits the fan. A check-in can be really helpful because real consistency isn't about perfection. It's about noticing, adjusting, and continuing to show up. So before we dig into this week 4 reflection, I just want to do a quick recap of what we already accomplished in this challenge. So week 1 was all about the one thing rule or focusing. So you or we committed to picking one priority task each day, and we journaled about what we focused on and how it felt. And this week taught us the power of narrowing our attention and not overloading our daily to-do list. Week 2 was small wins daily or progress over perfection. And we took 10 minutes of daily action toward a meaningful goal. Instead of waiting for the perfect conditions, you just got started. And that momentum matters more than we realize. Week 3 was leader habits, rhythm, and repetition. I talked a lot about leader standard work. We picked 3 simple, repeatable work habits, like checking your calendar before email or leading a 5-minute huddle, and practice them every day. These tiny habits build leadership muscle and trust. And now it's time to reflect, celebrate, and realign. But in case you missed those episodes, they will be linked in the show notes in the description below so you can go back. We often think that consistency means never messing up or never missing anything or never accidentally dropping the ball on something or maybe intentionally just giving up for a minute. But the truth is that consistency just means all about checking in. And here's why reflection is your secret weapon and why consistency isn't about actually doing the thing. It's actually about the awareness of the thing. So the first way that reflection is your secret weapon is it helps you notice what's working so you can keep doing that, right? Like if you are ever evaluating how something is going, whether it's been really hard or really good, when you take a step back, just zoom out a little bit and a little bit more and a little bit more, you can start to take notice of some things. And one of the big picture items you want to notice is what's working, because let's keep doing that. Let's do more of that. Can I sustain that? That's your first superpower with reflection. The second one is it helps you spot friction or burnout before it derails you. I find that this is the hardest for people because they fail to zoom out when they need to. So when you're feeling that ping of like, wow, I'm exhausted, or wow, this is mentally challenging, or wow, I don't feel like showing up, or wow, this thing that's usually easy is harder, the first thing we need to do is take notice. And then when that happens, I need you to take a step back and zoom out instead of digging in to keep going to try to fix the thing. Because what we need to do is practice our self-awareness and realize what is actually going on. So reflection can help you spot this friction or burnout and notice and say, I need to do things differently. I need rest. I maybe need to apply my skills differently. I need a different approach. I need to be more intentional instead of it letting you get derailed and basically dig yourself a hole that you have to dig out later. So that is why I'm always talking about self-awareness and emotional intelligence and reflection, because it can really stop the train from crashing and it can actually allow you to course correct. That leads me to my third part, which is course correcting in real time. With reflection, there's no waiting until the next quarter or your performance review to realize something's off. You actually get to fix it in real time, do something different. You have control over your own situation and you get to create that yourself. You don't have to wait for someone else to take notice that something is not working or someone to tell you that. You get to notice. So I want you to think of reflecting as your internal GPS or like your internal compass, if you want to go like super old school. And even if you take a wrong turn, your compass will still point the right way, or your GPS will help you reroute. It doesn't have to be deep or time-consuming reflection. This week's consistency practice is simple. We're going to do a 3-minute daily review. So let's talk about what that entails. So every day this week, I want you to take 3 minutes at the end of your workday and ask yourself, what went well, what felt off or distracting, and what's one small tweak I can make for tomorrow? That's it. 3 minutes. This act is going to help you build awareness and it's going to help you build self-leadership that you need to stay consistent even on hard days. So here's what I mean by that. I don't know if you've heard the quote of, you've got to lead yourself before you lead others. And when I talk about getting organized at work, I'm often talking about tools to help yourself and your teams stay consistent. And that means self-leadership. You've got to build yourself some accountability. And that's where leader standard work comes in. That's where daily habits come in. That's where the reflection comes in. If you expect others to do it, you've got to do it too. So if you're in our Get Organized at Work podcast community, you can hop in there and I'm going to be posting and you can share all about your daily reflections and track whether or not you've done that. And if you've fallen off of this challenge but want to get back, this is the perfect moment to rejoin and reset. So if you're in there, start engaging in the community. If you're not in there, go ahead and join. The link will be in the description or in the show notes for you to join. All right, the last thing I want to talk about today is celebrating your wins. I want you to take a second to really acknowledge what you've done this month. This challenge wasn't about doing big, flashy things. It was about taking small, intentional steps consistently. And let me just tell you, think back to the beginning of the month or even the end of April when we talked about this. I'm going to do this for myself. I was thinking that May would look a certain way. I was excited and also a little bit overwhelmed with my schedule, not just my work life, but my family life was busy. My daughter's dance recital and my dance recitals ended up being on different days. So we had an entire weekend full of dance recitals. I was in 2 shows. One was an all comp show. So it was like extra long show and went into like 9 o'clock on a Sunday night. My daughter was in 1 show, getting our costumes ready, making sure the family was set, multiple different programs going on at the kids' school because it's like Mother's Day, but then we all got sick, right? So there's just a lot going on. So there was just a lot going on in our lives in May. And I was like, no, I need to show up for work. And I had a certain idea about how it would look. And then the workday happened and people needed different things from me. People shared different things that they were going to do. That helped me or forced me to change what I was going to do. And I had to course correct. But the cool thing is with these daily focus moments of certain things I was going to work on, with being really intentional about my work habits, with being intentional about reflections, I can pivot. And even if some moments were harder than others, made it through and still made a lot of progress. So I want to share that with you just so you know that, if your month didn't go as planned or it looked different than you were hoping for it to look, that's totally normal. And I want you to celebrate what you did do, which is practicing focus, making progress without perfection, and really created leadership rhythms that stick. And so now we're going to add on top of that the more consistent checking in instead of checking out. And that's what sustainable growth looks like. So I hope that you feel really proud of that from doing this challenge this month. So I want you to notice that consistency is an ongoing practice. It's not about a perfect streak. It's about noting when you veer it off course and gently returning to your rhythm. Something that I wanted to share with you is I love using the Calm app and meditating, and I want to get back to doing that a little bit more this year. So I've been thinking about it more. And a word that came to me when I was preparing this episode was equanimity. It's something I learned from meditating and even from yoga. And it means mental calmness, composure, and evenness of temper, especially in a difficult situation. So equanimity. And that's really what I think about when I think about being consistent as a leader, as a manager, as a mentor, that you've got to have sort of that mental calmness and peace about you to lead in really turbulent times. And that's what we're working on when we're working on these skills that I'm talking about for this May Consistency Month. So if this challenge helped you build new habits, I'd love to hear about it. Share your wins in the Get Organized at Work podcast community. Again, join if you're not already a member. That's the perfect time to join. And hey, just because May is ending, it doesn't mean that your consistency has to either. So we'll be continuing to build these habits in future episodes, as well as in the community. And again, check me out on Instagram. It's at Get Organized at Work. I'm going to build that community next. Or you know what? If you're a professional and you're already on LinkedIn a lot, find me. You can search Kayla Fahey-Ahrndt, or KFA Consulting LLC is my business where this podcast lives. I'd love for a follow and to see my recent posts. So thanks for sticking with me through this challenge, and I will see you next week. We're going to dive into more fun things for Get Organized at Work. And maybe I will post in our community. You can vote on the next topics. I would love to hear what's something that's on your heart that you would really love me to talk about. Until then, stay focused, stay consistent, give yourself grace, and I will see you in the next episode.